Nitrogen is a basic building element of life. It's in all our proteins, it's in our DNA, it's out there, it's a naturally occurring element. So why then are we casting it in this light as being a problem? What happens is that because we've had so much development, much more people moving in, nitrogen gets out in our waste and it moves its way into the environment, and then it starts to cause a problem when there's too much. For us here on Cape Cod, most of the nitrogen that ends up in our bays and is causing the problem that Brian just talked about comes from wastewater. It's not the only source, but it's the biggest source, roughly about 85% or so. That drop of water then eventually makes its way back down into the groundwater, and it's moving. Now it's contaminated, it's not blue anymore, it's orange, and it makes its way out into the estuaries. What happens is that nitrogen acts like a fertilizer. Just like we grow and we eat food that has nitrogen in it, and we fertilize our lawn sometimes, hopefully not too much, what happens is it acts like a fertilizer in nature, and it fuels the growth of algae. When that algae bloom is out there, it's also using up a lot of oxygen. And so it depletes the oxygen in the water column. When that algae dies, falls to the bottom, it has to decompose. It also uses up oxygen in that process. And eventually, we're getting a cycle where we are crowding out other plants like eelgrass that need to be there, that represent a thriving ecosystem, that act as a nursery from all these living marine animals. And we are producing ecosystem change, a cascade effect of ecosystem change over time. So now we're getting these huge algae blooms, they die off, they deplete the oxygen, and we degrade water quality over time. But the source comes back to too much nitrogen, traveling through our wastewater primarily, ending up in our waterways, ending up in the bays, causing this cascade effect of ecosystem change. We are at this acute, urgent stage where we need to solve that problem.